dear monastic sangha, and all Dharma friends. The fundamental Buddha Dharma is trust in the mind. And when we trust in the mind, we know that we have everything. It's just like an example. In a space contains all the time, and in a time it contains all the space. So there's no more or less. And because of our own ignorance, therefore we continue have this dualistic gain or loss concept. And when we don't have that basics of trust in the mind, we will go after the worldly desire. We run after the Buddha outside of us. And there's a stanza by the patriarch. There's a Buddha in the vulture peak. The vulture peak, there is a Buddha. And every one of us have that Buddha stupa in us. And that Buddha stupa is not too far from us. It's within us. And we always think that we are poor, and we always want to be a beggars. And we think that we don't have enough. And we always compare between rich and poor. And there's a diamond in our color of our shirt. The jewel is is right there, and we don't realize it. And our Buddha nature is always ready. And that beggars, he is always think that he's poor. We don't trust in our own mind, and that's why we always trust in our illusion, and we run after the form and fame, and that's false perception of our own mind create all this desires that we run after the false form, and therefore we're not able to trust in our own mind. And there are many people, they have a very, very good cause and condition in the Zen practice, but they somehow didn't really have that trust in the mind, and they run after something else, even though they are practicing. And there are also, people who try to teach practitioner in that false mind. So the basics of our trust in the mind, we need to know what is the true prajna. The true prajna is non-dual. And the true prajna is about self-detached of ignorance and get rid of all the ignorance in our mind. So when we trust in the mind and practice, and then we're able to walk all the way to the original mind, and if there's doubt, then there's awakening. And when you don't really trust in the mind, then there's no way, there will be a great doubt. And there's no great doubt, it will not lead to awakening. And when we trust in the skillful means, skillful ways, and then we attach to something that we can gain, something that we can seek, and that can help us prevent from fear, and we go into the wrong path. And that's because we don't have the foundational trust in the mind. And when we don't trust in the mind and we practice so many different methods, so when we talking about a great practice like this one, people, they don't really believe this practice. And when the Buddha's when lead the teaching, the Buddha lead the teaching in assembly in the Lotus teaching, and there are 5,000 arahants. When they heard of this teaching, they didn't believe it, and they left the assembly, because they already said, "Oh, I already got to the nirvana. That's good enough. Why do I need to work anymore?" So they left the assembly. So when we come back to this practice, we think, on theory is very basic, but when we take on it, when we practice it, and there will be a lot of obstacles. And when we have the basics down, then we able to continue walk on the path, continue practices diligently. And when we talk about a lot of theories about the prajna, the Buddha nature, and people, they can speak fluently about the theories of prajna and the Buddha nature, emptiness, and so on. And when they talk about and when they don't really understand about the theory of dualism, and if they only learn intellectually, but they don't really go deep into the practice, and they don't really recognize the true practice. And the Buddha also mentioned a lot about the difference between the skillful means teaching and absolute teaching. And people, they still attach to the true self-ignorance, self-attachment in the skillful means teaching as absolute. They falsely thought that the skillful means teaching is absolute teaching, and they're not able to negate, the teaching in the Diamond Sutra, because they don't have the basic understand. And that is a lot of ways of time in teaching and not practicing. And just like in school, the teachers, give out the theories to apply into the practice, but they only recite the theory, but not take it into the application. So again, in this practice, we need to continue to understand why we trust in the mind, so that way we can practice correctly. How are we able to understand the foundational trust in the mind, understand the original ignorance, birth and death? So from there, we're able to self-release the self-attachment and ignorance. Otherwise, we're gonna go after the self-attachment, the form, the fame. We're gonna attach to the big ego, and we're gonna fall into the hell realm, and we didn't know. So we need to understand the basics of the true Buddha Dharma. So that's what I want to share with everyone this morning. So at this time, if you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. Namo Sakya Muni Buddha. So when you talk about trust in the mind, and we continue with the practice and continue with maintaining the doubt, but how can we encounter with the different situation in our daily lives? So basically, the question is, we learn all these theories, all this explanation, teaching from you. It sounds very easy, and but when we take them into our practice, it's gonna be really difficult. I'm sorry, I cannot really hear her well. But basically, I think her question is how can she apply the practice with all the theories. So all the page arts, they are very compassionate. So in our daily life, we should not let our self worldly knowledge or worldly known, how can we able to encounter with all the condition in life? So everything is basically the same. We should maintain everything the same, and we should um, continue with the practice. Just like, if you eat 3 meals per day, you should know that you need to eat 3 meals per day, right? So, basically, you need to just not attach to worldly. We just live on in the world, but in the meantime, we just start ask the question and maintain doubt. And your mind is basically it's gonna be abide in with the doubt. When you maintain the doubt, and you're not able to pay attention to other people, even they try to criticize you, or and we're not gonna respond to their or to worldly situation, like actively. So our sixth sense basically connect with all the six outside world, but they are not, actively responds to everything. And because of our maintained doubt, it's help us to just basically almost like non-responsive with the worldly thinking. And eventually the cell attachment to worldly thinking or worldly life eventually it's gonna slowly erode, and it's gonna lose its momentum by itself. So if we don't practice, then we will feel back up, with the worldly calm energy or habitual pattern. And that's why it's very critical that we need to maintain the doubt. If we don't have the doubt, then eventually, all this worldly situation, it's gonna fill in, and you have to react to them. And when there's no self-attachment, and that there are no self-attachment, there will be less subject and object. And even in our practice, we want to, achieve enlightenment. We want to become patriarch. If you raise that thought, you should be careful. That's not a right practice. So that's mean the patriarchs already. We should not encounter with all the thoughts arise in our mind. We should return to the practice, and we don't have to distinguish between awakening and delusion. So the patriarch already say this, if you walk around this pole, the anchor pole, and you're not able to leave, the ignorance, because you walk around the ignorance pole. So in the Surarama Sutra, you have to direct your mind to the self nature. So that's just a word, but because when you direct the mind to the Buddha nature, is also what? Subject and object. But the patriarch, they say it and then they get rid of it right away because they're afraid that we gonna attach to that. So that's what we really need, to understand the basic teaching of the patriarch. So if we're not able to understand this basic, then we always go after the self-attachment and ignorance all the time. And we able to truly understand their intention. So when we return to the Huato, maintain the doubt, that is when we basically go back to the original mind. And that's what the patriarchs want us to do. And when you not rouse the doubt, then we gonna continue living in this duality, subject and object. And if you don't maintain the doubt, then we're gonna fall into the skeptical doubt. And when you longing for awakening, that is in the skeptical doubt, and that is in the dualistic verge. So when you maintain the great doubts, the consciousness, the worldly consciousness, it will not be able to abide into the duality, subject and object, or the conditions. And when we're able to find out about awakening the moment, then we return to the true self. And when we don't practice, we're not able to realize the words or the intention of the patriarchs. And the patriarch, or the sixth patriarch, said that because of out of the compassion, I just want to explain you so that you can leave the duality. So you should not attach to my words. So that's the words of the sixth patriarch. So in the Sukarama Sutra, the 6 points that the Buddha tried to help Ananda to realize there is no mind abiding. So when you say the mind is in the house, then how can you see? You can see outside, but you cannot see inside. And then when you say the mind is in the body, and then how can you see? You cannot see it in the body. So when you attach to the inside, then you're gonna attach the outside. So if you attach the outside, then you're not gonna see the inside. So when the Buddha said that it's not outside or inside, and it's gonna be in the middle, and another attached to the middle. So the Buddha also negates the middle. So basically, the teaching by the Buddha in the Sukarama Sutra, this try to negate all the attachment. So the 7th point, then the Ananda, realize the self detachment. So every words that the Buddhas, the patriarchs speak, they just based on the skillful means to help us to release our self-attachment, and we should not attach to their words. So we should understand that the, the the learning is basically guide us to the true self, but we should not mistake um, understand that the finger is the moon. So the Bodhisattvas, they have endless vow, and sometimes they have to go to different wise teachers to learn. And when the Bodhisattvas, so even in the Bodhisattvas precepts, if the one of the Bodhisattva, they don't hold on to the go out there and listen to the teaching, and that is violate the precept. And when there's a bodhisattvas maybe have deformed very or handicapped way, but they know the true Dharma, and we don't go there and learn from them, then we violate the precepts. Or the bodhisattva, maybe he is in a young age, but he knows the true Dharma, and if one doesn't go there and learn from him, then it's violate the precept, the bodhisattva precepts. And all the skillful means here is try to help us find the realization and self-detachment from the ignorance. So that is the whole practice of the Bodhisattva. So right now we are running out of time, and thank you everyone, monastic sangha and the Zen practitioner.